Somewhere around 150,000 miles, one of these two engines is more likely to hand you a single $6,000 bill, and the other is more likely to nickel and dime you for $2,500 spread across a couple of visits. And which one does which isn't about which engine is worse, it's about how each one is built to fail. I've had both of these engines on my lift with real problems, and the actual answer to which one dies first surprised me the first time I saw the pattern clearly. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how a turbocharged failure differs from a naturally aspirated one, what that means for your specific truck, and which questions actually matter more than horsepower numbers when you're deciding between them. This isn't a horsepower comparison, and it isn't a towing comparison. Plenty of other videos already cover that ground. This is specifically about the moment something finally goes wrong on each one, and why that moment looks completely different depending on which engine is under your hood. How the EcoBoost actually dies. Here's where it gets interesting. The 3.5 EcoBoost's failure pattern is a story about two different engines wearing the same name. The 2011 through 2016 versions run a single long timing chain looping around both cylinder banks, a chain that has to survive constant tension changes across a wide engine, and when it stretches past spec, it doesn't always announce itself with a warning light first. Ford redesigned this for 2017, splitting it into two separate shorter chains, one per bank. A fix specifically for the same failure this channel isn't going to re-explain in depth here, because if you own an EcoBoost, you likely already know whether you're driving a Gen 1 or Gen 2 version, and that single fact changes your risk profile more than almost anything else in this video. Then there's the turbo itself. Both turbos on this engine spin on a bearing riding on a thin film of oil, and when that oil gets dirty or runs low even briefly, that bearing is what wears first. It doesn't always fail slowly. A turbo bearing can go from fine to grinding metal into the intake over a surprisingly short window. And once metal starts circulating, it's rarely a one turbo problem anymore, which is exactly why shops routinely recommend replacing both at once, even when only one has failed. Real repair bills for that job run anywhere from $1,500 for a single turbo done efficiently, up to $6,000 when both turbos go, plus whatever else got contaminated on the way down. Result: an EcoBoost that's had its timing chain generation accounted for and its oil changed on a strict schedule can go a very long time without drama. An EcoBoost running on delayed oil changes, especially a pre-2017 unit, is carrying a failure mode that tends to arrive suddenly and expensively rather than announce itself early. That's the trade this specific engine makes. How the Coyote actually dies. And it gets worse before it gets fair to the EcoBoost. The Coyote isn't the bulletproof V8 some owners want it to be either. The 2018 through 2020 model years in particular picked up two real issues of their own: a cam phaser and VCT solenoid problem that shows up as a distinct ticking noise at idle, and a documented oil consumption issue serious enough that Ford built a PCM recalibration specifically to address it. Neither of those is a rumor. Both are acknowledged, documented issues on a specific window of these engines. Here's the difference that actually matters, though. Neither one tends to end the engine's life on its own. The phaser tick is a solenoid-level fix, typically $500 to $2,000, depending on how far it's gone before you catch it. The oil consumption issue gets addressed with a software reprogram, not a teardown. Owners who ignore either one for years can eventually turn a cheap fix into an expensive one, but the failure mode itself is gradual. It ticks. It burns a little more oil than it should. It gives you time and warning before anything catastrophic happens, which is a fundamentally different shape of problem than a turbo bearing letting go on the highway. Result: a naturally aspirated engine with no forced induction hardware to lose simply has fewer single points of sudden expensive failure. That's not the same as saying it has no problems. It has real ones, dated to a real window of production years, same as the EcoBoost. It's saying the way it fails tends to look different. Slower, cheaper per instance, more forgiving of a missed service interval here or there. That is the actual trade this video is about. Now here's the part of this video that actually matters more than either engine's individual weak points. Everything you just heard explains what each engine's problems look like. It doesn't yet answer the question in the title. Hit subscribe now because the next part is where which one dies first actually gets answered. And it's not the answer either fanbase expects. What dies first actually means. This is where most people get it completely wrong. They hear the EcoBoost has a scarier failure mode and assume that means it dies first, on a calendar, more often than the Coyote does. That's not what the evidence actually supports. Forum reports and shop data both show plenty of EcoBoosts well past 200,000 miles on their original turbos, and plenty of Coyotes needing real money spent on phaser and oil consumption issues well before that mark. Dies first isn't really a fair question between these two engines. The fair question is which one gives you more warning before it costs you real money. And on that specific question, the naturally aspirated engine has a structural advantage that has nothing to do with which one is better built. Result, the EcoBoost's failure mode is scarier per incident and rarer overall. The Coyote's failure mode is cheaper per incident and more likely to show up at some point in ownership. Neither of those is which one dies first in the way the title sounds. It's which kind of bill you'd rather plan for. Knowing which failure shape you're actually signing up for is exactly the kind of thing worth checking before you buy either one used, not after, which is exactly what the free 12-point inspection checklist in the description is built for, whether you're looking at a Coyote or an EcoBoost on a lot this weekend. And if you already own one and want the full maintenance path that keeps either engine's specific weak points from turning into the expensive version, the 5-year survival manual linked there walks through both. What this actually means for your truck. Stay with me, because the generic version of this answer isn't as useful as the specific one. If you're looking at a used EcoBoost, the single most important question is the build year, because it tells you which timing chain design and how many miles of turbo-bearing risk you're inheriting. A 2018 or newer EcoBoost with documented oil change records is a fundamentally different risk than a 2013 with unknown maintenance history. If you're looking at a used Coyote, the question is whether it falls in that 2018 to 2020 window, and if it does, whether the ticking noise or an oil consumption pattern already showed up and got addressed. Result: 5 minutes checking a build year and a maintenance history answers more about your actual risk than any general reputation either engine has online. That's the same 5 minutes most buyers skip, because they've already decided which one everyone says is more reliable. The question that actually decides it. But don't stop there, because build year and maintenance history only tell you the risk. They don't tell you which risk you'd rather live with, and that's a genuinely personal answer, not a mechanical one. Some owners would rather have a small chance of a $6,000 bill and otherwise smoother, quieter, torqueier driving in the meantime. Other owners would rather have a higher chance of smaller bills spread across years, in exchange for one less system that can fail all at once, at highway speed, with nothing throwing a warning light first. Neither answer is wrong. What's wrong is picking a side in this argument before you've actually priced out what your specific truck, at its specific build year and mileage, is likely to ask of you. Result: one honest conversation with yourself about which kind of bill you'd rather plan for, versus years of defending whichever engine you happen to buy first. That is the last choice in this video, and it's the only one that was ever actually yours to make. Neither of these engines is quietly winning. One of them fails rarely and expensively. The other fails more often and cheaply. That's not indecision. That's the actual honest answer to a question that usually gets settled by which forum somebody joined first. Comment which one you're running, your build year, and whether you've already hit either of the issues in this video. I want to see how the real numbers on this channel's audience compare to what the forums claim. Which specific maintenance habits stretch either engine's timeline the furthest? That's the next video. Check your own build year before you watch it.